This is an espresso making machine that needs a little fix. In this video, let me show you and explain exactly what's wrong with it and how it's going to get fixed for a cost of $0. It just needs a little tweaking, and there's no need to throw away the machine. I know if issues arise, most people just throw it away and buy a new one, but that costs money and I don't like throwing stuff away. So I'll show you how it's tweaked or fixed for a cost of $0. First things first, make and model number are visible here on the bottom of the unit. That's the nameplate on it. There's a sticker is also next to it. So this is how the unit looks like. This is the back of it, partially disassembled, of course. There's a lid that goes here, that's down here, and dip tray and a bunch of screws. This is the front of it. This is how the unit looks like. So what's wrong with it? What's wrong with the unit is fairly straightforward. It doesn't make the water hot enough to make 1 cup of hot water for tea or 1 cup of coffee. The reason why it does so needs a little bit of explanation, so bear with me. Water starts its journey in this water tank here, at the bottom of which there is a one-way valve, the black plastic thing there. It goes in here, and that one-way valve links up to a hose. Through the hose, the pump lifts the water up here to this part of the machine here, where water gets heated. Inside here there's a heating element, and water enters it at the edge and follows a spiral path and comes out in the middle and flows heated up into a cup. So that's fairly straightforward. So the machine doesn't produce a hot enough water that's hot enough for beverage. So let me explain why this happens. I'm just going to put you on a tripod here because I'm going to need both of my hands. So everything is fully functional in the machine, just a little bit old. So the machine is heating, the machine is switching on and off, the pump is circulating the water, so everything is functional. It just needs a little bit of a tweaking. In normal operation, these two thermostats here that sit on the top of the machine regulate the temperature of the heating element inside this cast aluminum block here. The glow coil that's embedded in this heating element here, just like the water follows a circular path, this glow coil is also in a geometric arrangement, and it heats up the metal. The water running through the hot metal heats up. It has an initial temperature, of course, whatever the temperature of the water is that comes out of the tap or faucet in some markets. So the initial temperature of the water gets pumped into it at the edge of this heating element, whatever that is, and as it follows a spiral path, the temperature of the water rises, and as it drops out or drips out, it's going to have a final temperature to it. The heating element inside this aluminum casting here is regulated by these two thermostats. These are automatically resetting, auto-resetting, snap-action disk thermostats. So they either open the circuit or normally they're closed. As the metal expands, the thermostat opens, no current flows through it, and the glow coil inside the heating element here is not being powered. So one of them does out of the two thermostats, one of them does most of the work. The other one is just to back up a higher temperature. The one that does the work, in this case this one, switches at, say, I don't know, 85 degrees Celsius. There is no need to make 100 or heat the water up beyond 100 degrees. At 100 degrees Celsius or 212 degrees Fahrenheit, water boils at sea level in normal atmospheric conditions. So there's no need to make steam. So heating the water beyond 100 degrees or 212 Fahrenheit is really not necessary. So it heats up the glow coil to about 85 degrees, opens, and cools down. As it cools down, the gap inside the thermostat, there's an actual physical gap, is getting less and less and less, and closes the circuit again at, say, 75 degrees. So the temperature of the glow coil goes up from 75 to 85 degrees and then cools down again to 75. Goes up to 85, goes down to 75. So the switches on, switches off, switches on, switches off in normal operation. The water, of course, is being pumped at a constant rate. But the pump doesn't slow down just because the glow coil or the heating element is a little cold there. As a result, the temperature of the water that comes out in the middle, initially it's 85-degree water, and then it's 80-degree water, whatever, 75-degree water, so the temperature drops down. In reality, the temperature of the heating element and the temperature of the water are not the same thing. The heating element is possibly significantly hotter than the water that actually comes out. That's where engineering comes in. So the temperature of water varies between 70 and 65 degrees, something like that. It's a little too cold. 65 degrees is basically dishwashing or showering temperature for water. It's not really hot enough for a cup of tea or a cup of coffee. So the water temperature also fluctuates, goes up, goes down, goes up, goes down. So what I'm going to do is, without replacing any of these components, raise the temperature just a few degrees. So instead of going between 85 and 75, 85 and 75, it maybe tweak it a little bit so it's a few degrees hotter, say 90 to 80, 90 to 80, something like that. In order to do this, I shimmed the thermostat a little bit up so that it's in the air. In normal operation, let me just show you this piece of wire. It's fairly straightforward. That's the piece of wire that's now sitting underneath this thermostat. The other one is untouched and is in fully operating condition, touching the aluminum casting of this heating element. So in normal operation, the thermostat is being heated up by the heating element being heated up, and the thermostat being in full contact with the metal surface of the heating element, and the hot element heats up the thermostat. Fairly straightforward. Now here, where I have an air gap between the thermostat and the metal heating element, the element heats up, and then the hot element heats up the air, and then the hot air heats up the thermostat. Then the thermostat switches, opens or closes. So because of this added air layer there that is underneath the lid, and when the lid is on, there's not much air circulation other than convective current. So in this particular case, I have a piece of wire there that's 1.25 millimeters thick. It doesn't matter what gauge it is, because you can just get wire from, I don't know, Staples. You get the idea. It's possible to replace the thermostat with one that has a higher sensitivity. This one switches at 225 degrees Fahrenheit, whatever that is in Celsius, and so there are different thermostats available, but this is a video on fixing it for no extra money, for $0, so there it is. So I hope that makes sense, how this extra layer makes the thermostat heat up a little later than while the heating element's temperature is still being raised. Therefore the water is gonna get hotter as the heating element heats up the water as it continues on its spiral path. So the thermostat will switch. It will switch a little later, a few degrees higher temperature than it is now. Everything is aging in this machine. The thermostats are aging. The inside the switching action might happen as it ages a little sooner than it used to be when it was new. And there's another printed circuit board, and all kinds of components are on it. So the brain here also ages, and the sensitivity might be dropping on it, producing not cold water, but not enough for a cup of beverage. So that's the fix. That's how it works. I hope this makes sense. And and it's fairly easy to duplicate it anywhere. You make sure you stay safe and work on unpowered equipment.